Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today we're going to be once again looking at these suggestions past developers for August 2020, and this time we're going to have a look at the mechanics section, so stuff like skins, stuff like ideas to build into the game, stuff like UI improvements. But one thing I will say, there is two absolutely monstrous articles in this: the Liberation of Paris map and also the Enduring Confrontation 2.0 Liberation. This one has over 5,000 words in it, so what I'm going to do with these two is I'm actually going to put them in their own video, because obviously if we put them in this one, this video is going to be like an hour long. So yeah, I'm going to chop these up and we're going to cover everything else in this video, so look forward to those videos in the future. Now let's get started. The first one is from Einherja, and he is talking about the idea of the Shenyang F5 getting a Vietnam War Camouflage, and I've got to say this War Camouflage is really beautiful, and it would be an extra camouflage on top of what we already have. Basically, what Einherja wants is a unlockable skin which would contain this distinct camouflage in it, which the F5s and also the MiG-17s wore during the Vietnam War, I believe. So this would obviously increase the attractiveness of the vehicle itself, and it is a two-colored model, and it looks like it's like a dark green and a light green. Overall, it is a pretty nice camo, and I do agree with the idea of adding it into the game. There's even a picture here with it in the game, probably as a user skin. The next idea is from Azens, and Azens wants to get some JSDF Sakura insignia stuff into the game. Basically, the JGSDF Sakura insignia got passed a while ago. We actually covered it on the channel, and what Azens wants is not just the JGSDF stuff, but why not the JMSDF stuff, the JASDF stuff, and also the TRDI stuff, because they all have Sakura insignia for vehicles as well. So this is the JASDF, or the Air Self-Defense Force. They have this insignia. It would be really lovely to see. Then you have the Self-Defense Force, which have, of course, their little insignias on their vehicles as well. Then you have the Research and Development Institutes, which have their little insignias. You can see them right here on this vehicle. So why not add them to the game as well as additional decals? I think personally that would be a cool idea. Then we have, of course, Small Hat coming with a pretty simple idea, and definitely one I'm sure that could be implemented easily. What he wants is in the hangar a UI improvement which would add a clock to the game, and the basic reason that he wants this is just a quality of life thing, so it could help familiarize players with time zones, differences between them, maybe help coordination between players in separate time zones. And he uses EVE Online as an example, which has the time in it. One thing that is interesting about War Thunder, if you didn't know, every vehicle in War Thunder which has a clock, so if you go into the cockpit of many vehicles, they actually do have clocks in them. You can see your localized time on that clock, and it's really, really cool. It's one of those really little details that has been in War Thunder since its inception, and it's just one of the things why, you know, I really enjoy War Thunder. Like, it's the little things for me, you know, it's the engine flames, it's the, you know, it's the clocks in the cockpits, it's the opening cockpits, it's all that stuff for me which really makes it worth it. But yeah, why not add a little time element in it, just to give it a little bit of, well, just give it a little bit more information, I suppose, in the UI. The next one is from Alex, and Alex wants to add a very ambitious idea, but what I must say, a very interesting one, and one that I do agree with, to implement it, but in slightly different ways. I might do a video talking about this idea, but in a slightly different way, because the way he proposes is a really good idea, but it's never going to be passed, because it would mean Gaijin lose a ton of money doing it. But anyway. What Elix wants is a new interface rework with the hangar, basically to make the hangar have upgradable upgradable buildings in it, and therefore make the hangar useful instead of just something to look at. So the whole point of the upgradable hangar is just to include stuff in it which, you know, would be improvements overall, and also combine many features like the test drive in the hangar, where just like crossout. Now if you don't know, in crossout, if you hit like the test drive button, you actually, what happens is your UI disappears and you are able just to drive out of your hangar into the test drive, which a lot of people have said would be lovely to see in War Thunder. I agree. But yeah, the whole point is to have different base upgrades and sections, as you can see here. So let's have a look at the different ones. So upgrading the base is pretty straightforward. A player with no research done to the base has a level 1 in every upgrade section, and this means that an area of the base looks either underdeveloped or empty, and in order to gain a new level and unlock stuff, he or she needs to go into battle in order to gain research to a specific section of the base. In time, the player will be able to buy upgrades with Silver Lions. Once an upgrade reaches level 2, the player will be able to see the upgrade and interact with them. So you can see it's supposed to be very intertwined with what we already have. The upgrades can come in many forms and vary from whatever section the player chooses to interact with. One of the more common upgrades can be if a player vehicle is destroyed, it can decrease in cost of getting the vehicle back. Another upgrade can be better boosters in terms of vehicle research or Silver Lions. So the first one he shows is the vehicle hangar. So basically you start off with a level 1 vehicle hangar with no upgrades, so therefore the visuals would just be like a tent, maybe some tools, maybe some stuff like that, something similar to this. And then when you get to level 2, it actually looks a little bit more developed, and then when you reach the max level 10, which, you know, will be, you know, the max level, you'll have super modern vehicles in the hangar, you'll have high-tech specialized tools, it'll actually look like a hangar, and generally the usability of this upgrade would be at level 2, it would decrease the cost of a ground unit being destroyed, and at max rank at level 10, it would decrease the cost of 50%, so therefore it would reduce your repair cost by 50% if you maxed out this hangar. Then we have a plane hangar, which, as you can see, the rank 1 would just be a dirt runway, and then at rank 10 it would look like a modern secret high-tech airbase. So when you're destroyed in battle, the same thing. The higher the rank of your vehicle hangar, the lower your repair costs will be. And then we have a shipyard as well. So just like the vehicle and plane one, the shipyard will just become a more detailed dock over time, depending on what level you're at, and it will reduce the repair costs as you increase in ranks. The helipad is basically exactly the same thing, but for helicopters, the command center is when it gets kind of interesting. So at level 1 of your command center, it won't exist. It'll basically be a glass area that does nothing. Maybe it has a tent on it or something. When you unlock rank 2 of it, the player will be able to gain and achieve more rewarding battle tasks inside the war bond shop. So currently, if you complete 2 daily battle tasks, you gain 150 war bonds, but leveling up your command center, you will also gain some SL and research rewards for your vehicle research. So let's say at rank 2 command center, you'll gain 175 war bonds, 10,000 SL, and 2,500 research for a vehicle. These rewards will be able to increase as the command center also increases. So at rank 10, it could maybe cost something crazy like 25 million in research and 100 million in SL to unlock the rank 10 command center. But what would happen at rank 10 for the people who are able to actually grind that out, you would get a golden battle task, which would be available once per week. And this battle task, once done, will earn the players Golden Eagles once completed. So these could obviously vary in difficulty. If you pick an easy one, you can get yourself 25 GE. If you pick a very hard one, you can get 500 GE. And the rules are the same as the regular battle tasks, but more expensive to change with silver. So as for the 3 regular battle task upgrades, if you're at rank 10, you get 250 war bonds, 125,000 silver lions, Jesus Christ, and 10,000 research. So you can see the whole point of the command center. You can see what it would look like as a rank 10, which looks really cool. But yeah, it would increase your war bonds overall. Then you have the ammo storage, and basically as you increase the level of your ammo storage, it will reduce the cost of your ammo that you buy, so you get a discount on your ammo recuperation. Then you have a barracks. The crew training will be faster, so as you increase the level of your barracks, the crew training on the crew training on your vehicles will increase. It will be a little bit faster. Then we have a propaganda tower, which is always interesting. Basically, as you increase the level of the propaganda tower, you'll get better boosters in terms of silver lions and also research boosters. And this would be through daily rewards, buying boosters from the Warbond shop, or gaining boosters elsewhere. Then we have a research section, and the research section is pretty simple. When you increase the research section's level, it decreases the cost of researched items. So at rank 2, you will have a decrease of cost of 5%, and at rank 10, or level 10, which would be the max level of this, it would decrease cost of research by 50%. So an Abrams would half in price. It would basically be, 200,000 instead of 390,000. So yeah, they've done all of the models for this, or at least a lot of the decent models for this. And then we also have a reworking of the test drive. So you'd have a new base feature that replaces the current hangar. As of update 1.99, the cursed test drive will be completely removed from the game and replaced with a training ground that is in the same void as the base. So similar to how the player in Crossout can test drive the vehicles that build in their game. Makes sense. Before starting the test drive of any air, ground, or naval vehicle, the player can choose to spawn any vehicle into the test drive to shoot at, and whatever it is, an AI battlecruiser, an E-100, or a biplane, and they can choose how many different said enemies they want to spawn in before test driving their own vehicle. And the player can choose if the AI should be passive or hostile towards the player. Through the AI, will not be able to go into the base, and if the player gets destroyed, they'll return back to their hangar inside the base center. So all in all, this test drive will be similar to the community mission training ground, but added with AI planes, boats, and helicopters into the mix. So you can see that this is a very ambitious upgradable hangar idea. I really enjoy the idea, but as I said before, especially stuff like the research hangar, cutting stuff by 50% research at level 10 is kind of crazy. So I don't know. It would just be nice to have this upgradable hangar idea, even without all of the bonuses that it gives, just to give you a different look on, the hangar in general. So yeah, I really like this idea, but I think some of the rewards might have to be reworked slightly. Then we have Azens, and what Azens once again wants to add is a special Japan Defense Force Day set of stuff. So basically, you can see that what Azens wants is a special decal event, the Japanese Self-Defense Force Day. This would be a memorial day of the foundation of the JSDF, which was established in 1966, and there's a lot of weapons of the JSDF and also decals and achievements that could be picked. So here is the flag of the Japanese Self-Defense Force, the 8-stripe rising flag. Then, of course, you have the emblem of the JGSDF, which is incredibly beautiful as an idea. Then you have the maritime boys as well that you could bring in, the defense ship or the decals for that. And then also you have the air self-defense force. And I'm sure a lot of these will be added, at some point, but a event which would mark all of them wouldn't be a terrible idea. I think it would be lovely to see. The next one is from J26 Lennox X26, and this is an improvement on artillery. Now, what Linux wants to do is basically make it so radios are a little bit more useful in arcade and realistic, and also probably simulator too. So right now you have a sphere of influence where you can drop your artillery. It's generally a circle around you. And the accuracy of your artillery is altered by your crew skills, but generally the diameter of this circle never changes. What Linux wants to do is make it so you have a chain of commands for your artillery, and therefore other vehicles will have a sphere of influence with their circles, which would be basically their radios. Different types of vehicles will have different sizes of circles. So the heavy tank here would have a smaller circle, the medium tank would have a bigger circle, I'm sure the lighter tank would also have a bigger circle, and this would mean that you would have an extended range of where you can drop your artillery. So instead of just being stuck with the normal circle that you have, you will be able to, let's say, drop it up here, or drop it over here if you feel like annihilating the water. So yeah, the whole point of it is to get the crews a bit more involved, get a bit more teamwork going, and have like a relay range for the artillery, which obviously would be dependent on your crew skill as the radio operator on your vehicle. So then you would also be able to call in an artillery strike, like let's say here, as we talked about, and in naval battles the same idea. So you would have once again you would have like a sphere of influence for each of the vehicles, so that if you just linked them up, then you'd be able to drop artillery wherever those vehicles are, as long as the two rings interlock. So yeah, it's a pretty cool idea. Not sure about the balance ideas from it, but it is how it is. We'll have to see in the future if this ever gets added. It definitely could be in something like simulator mode, where radio range is taken a bit more seriously. Then we have Googly-Eyed Beast, and Googly-Eyed Beast wants to add scouting to a specific game mode. If you guys didn't know, in Sim there is no scouting. Scouting does not exist in Sim for obvious reasons. It would be a little bit broken in its current format. So basically what Googly-Eyed wants is to add scouting to Sim in a reduced role. And the reason is because he really likes scouting. I personally really like scouting too. It would be nice to see scouting in simulator at some point. So here is the suggestions that he puts forward to reduce the effectiveness of scouting, to be able to add it to simulator battle. So the scouted vehicle remains on the map for only a couple of seconds. This would make the intelligence rewards harder to get for both scouter and also team player. The wait to be able to scout again is increased, especially between a missed scout. You can scout your own vehicles by mistake, so would require use of vehicle interrogate prior to scouting if unsure. And if you scout a friendly by mistake, the enemy team will see the scouted vehicle on the map. Oh dear. If you are scouted, you'll be warned that you've been scouted. Doesn't sound very simulated. If a scout is scouted, its map marker will stay on the map for longer, and strict control over what vehicles can scout, and only vehicles that were designed primarily as scouts, regardless of rank. One example is the Daimler from the British, which currently has no scouting ability in any game mode, and then no respawn for scouting vehicle. So yeah, these could be the, I suppose you'd call them nerfs to these vehicles, in order to make them usable usable for scouting in simulator. It's an interesting idea, and I think scouting should be in simulator. Hopefully it gets worked in at some point. Then we have Roop, and Roop brings in an idea to completely rejuvenate test drives for vehicles, and he's done a wonderful job at showing us how to do it in Microsoft Paint. And basically what Roop wants to do is to give all different terrains when it comes to the game in this mode. So dirt and grass plains, mud and shallow waters such as rivers, a deeper body of water such as a pond, hills and slopes of varying steepness, and of course concrete and asphalt too. And also have a bunch of target vehicles, so you should be able to manually pick the vehicles you want to shoot at, and then preset locations will be all over the map, so therefore you will be able to engage them at different ranges, different altitudes, and different stuff. So this is the glorious Microsoft Paint concept map. You can see it has dirt roads, a main road, some plains, small village, a town, even a cliff, hills, and also a farm and a bog. This could be a wonderful racing map, by the way. I think it would be pretty much awesome to see. And then here is the visualization of the player spawn and the target vehicle locations, which you would be able to pick by yourself. So yeah, a wonderful drawing. Would be nice to see an improvement on the test drives. Then we have the Strafer. And the Strafer wants an idea added in, so when airplanes crash, they leave more of a mark. One of the things that when an airplane crashes in War Thunder, you only really see its physical model bounce along the ground and then sometimes skid, but you don't see any effect on the ground itself. You know how in tanks, when you roll around, you can see tracks? Well, what Strafer wants to do is basically add that to planes, but in a more destructive way. So when the plane crashes, you can see here in this picture, it leaves, let's call them skid marks as it goes along the ground, and in this one here, it would have left a mark where the wing hits the ground, and yeah, it's just basically to make the game more realistic, it makes more fun to crash. Oh dear. But anyway, the main thing is it makes it look more realistic and makes it look better, so yeah, that is a cool idea. The next one is from Albert Crop, and Albert Crop would like a frame rate limiter, and I think this is a wonderful idea, and it seems to be standard for a lot of games that are around right now. So basically, Albert here got himself a high refresh monitor, and unfortunately in War Thunder, there isn't a frame rate limit option other than VSync, and he uses the example of Battlefield 1 here, where Battlefield 1, you can set the frame rate limit to what you want. The setting spans all the way from the traditional 60Hz to 200Hz, and the addition of this feature would make the game run much smoother on high refresh monitors. It positively contributes to the overall immersion factor in the game, so yeah, it's pretty much as simple as that. It would make the experience better, and I'm sure it can't be too hard to add in a frame rate limiter. I don't exactly know how much work it takes, but surely it just would limit you to a certain level. Who knows? Maybe it's more complicated than I know. But yeah, I think it's a cool idea, just like all of these. There isn't really a bad idea here. All of these, at least in my opinion, are wonderful ideas that I would like to see in some way or another. Anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Trigger Hippie, Universe, Conte Baraka, Elove Goat, Eugens Terry, Ambrosius McClellan, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Hans, and Samuel Slick for supporting the channel.